I'm Anjali Bhimani. Some of you may know me from Overwatch and from Fallout 4, but today I am here as a huge fan of some show called The Expanse. Yes! Yes, how many of you like The Expanse? Yes, because if you don't, you shouldn't be here. It's like not liking puppies. You have to love The Expanse. I'm super, super excited to do this panel with these lovely members of the cast today, talking about diversity and the extraordinary tapestry of diverse views and visions that they have created with The Expanse. So let's waste no more time and introduce some of these amazing people, shall we? All right, starting as everybody's favorite Martian pilot, he makes a mean lasagna, donkey balls. Give it up for Cas Anvar. Yes. All right, you don't want to get on the wrong side of this lovely lady because she packs a wallop. As our beautiful Martian Bobby Draper, give it up for Frankie Adams. Yes. All right, she can fix anything, including broken hearts. Our beautiful Naomi Nagata. Give it up for Dominique Tipper! And finally, last but not least, she may be tiny, but don't mess with her, because she's your Belter captain, Belter Lauda. This is Give It Up for Kamina drummer for Cara.
Yes! Hi, friends.
Okay. Clearly, we're not going to have any fun at all, so I have this whole couch to myself, you guys. Here,
Live your life.
So, tell me.
It's perfect.
So first of all, let's talk about when you guys first came on to The Expanse, because obviously you were creating something, even though the books existed, you were creating this sort of tapestry of people from scratch. It was the first time we were going to actually see them and see what they looked like and where they came from. Can you talk a little bit about how each one of you came to the show, and if there was talk at that point about diverse casting or about the characters beforehand, or if it was just kind of you were perfect and they picked you? I mean, we know you're perfect and they picked you, but on top of that.
Okay, so when I went into audition, it was totally mixed. The races of the people in the audition room was really mixed, which is always nice. And then on my very first day on set, I was having lunch with Daniel Abraham, one of the writers of the books, of course. And I said to him, between bites of food, I said, you know, thank you for casting this show diversely, because when I went into audition for this show, I felt like I had a shot. So often I go into audition rooms and it's like all blonde white women, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm here to change their mind about what is possible, but obviously they're not looking for this, but I'm gonna go in and do my best. But for The Expanse, I just felt like I could be the character. And I thanked him for that. And very casually, between bites of food, he said, well, we have to dismantle white supremacy.
That's one half of Jane's essay, Corey. So we had a good start, I think. For me, it was a bit different. I was very new to acting. This was my first big show, actually, and my casting was a bit weird, so I was kind of on my own through a lot of it. And I didn't really gauge what was happening, I think, until I was there. And then I was like, oh, this is cast different to what I've usually seen. And then upon reading the books, I was like, oh, this is why. And then I realized, you know, the kind of commitment behind the scenes to cast the show in the way that they have was something that a lot of other shows don't do. So that was all there as well. So then I've just watched them add people in a way that I've never really seen before on other shows. And it was not race specific, but also was the effort there to make sure the show looked like the world around us. So, you know, everyone's storyline is independent of their race, but we have a diverse show, and to me, that's exactly how it should be. So, yeah. But it is weird as a mixed race woman being the lead, one of the leads on a show like this, and not being the token.
So Bobby was racially specific, in the book she was of Samoan ancestry, which when I read was really exciting because I've never auditioned for in Hollywood for a Polynesian role. And I thought that was really special because I think that people should be seeing us on mainstream television. We're really hot and cool and talented and funny. But actually, Daniel and Ty said it was surprising how many agents sent through white blonde actresses when they were like, dude, we literally said we want a mixed race person or someone of color to play this role.
Yeah,
why are you sending
those
me
agents,
tall models?
They're all saying, yeah, well, that's just what the casting people are saying. They don't really want a mixed race person. They just have to say it.
But like Cara, I was like, I have a chance, and that is a rare feeling. And so I was like, if I don't get this, I seriously fucked up because I knew that it was my role. And so I was just lucky that they also knew that it was my role. And the rest is history, right?
I should have added that actually. Mine was specific too. Mine was a mixed race woman, half black. So yeah.
Well, here's the beautiful thing. Like I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and I'm kind of ashamed that I had not read the books or knew of them when I auditioned. And then I just read my sides, and I read the description of the show, and I was fascinated by the pilot. I was like, how the hell are they going to make this incredible, wow, universe on a TV budget? All I knew was that my character description was Alex Kamal is a Mars-born fighter pilot of East Indian Pakistani descent with a Texas accent. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. And I went into audition for it, and then I read the books, and I was fascinated by how they described all the characters, because everything they said is written in the books. Like Bobby is that Samoan warrior, and Naomi is this mix of all these amazing cultures, and I haven't read about Drummer yet because I think she's later on in the series, so I don't know what she was supposed to be.
She's supposed to be Cara G, obviously.
But it's all in the books, but it's completely irrelevant to the narrative and the story, which I was fascinated about.
And also, just because it's in the books doesn't mean to say that they had to stick to it. So it is credit to the exec producers, to Narain Shankar, showrunner, that they had a hard time casting this show because they were just slid very beautiful blonde white women all the time. Like, oh, Naomi Nagata, how about this one? And they were like, no, she has to be, they stuck to it. So it works both ways. It can be in the source material and then change. Like, nobody is held to that. So it happens all the time.
There are some, I don't know, I'm sure you know about this, but there are some stories from season 1 before it was cast, but there was a lot of pressure to change some of the characters to whitewashed blonde characters.
Because they were struggling to find them.
And the showrunners, they were adamant about no. Although one character did get changed because of network pressure, it was one of the characters that ended up dying on the Canterbury, but there was enough.
Well, actually, I don't know if that was network pressure. They didn't want to give Holden a type.
Oh, I see.
Is what I got told.
Yeah, but that's still. But that's almost as bad, right? It's like
I mean, I don't know. I was a bit like, what if he does have a type? It's fine.
cares?
But I appreciate diversity goes both ways. You know? Like, so I wasn't mad at it, but yeah. This is what I got told.
I just scared all of you. Sorry, I'm laughing too loud. This mic is really, really hot, and I swear I'm not drunk. While we're talking about this very intriguing East Indian Martian with a Texas accent, how about we watch a little bit of footage here of the handsome and talented Cas Anvar. Can you guys pull that up for me?
Firing up the barbecue.
crank that volume.
I've been an awful husband.
Can you just say what you...
Would you do the lines for us? Tell us what's happening here.
It's like,
Come on, what were the lines?
hey, darling, here, I just want you to know that
I'm Alex.
I'm a bad
Wow.
husband.
Alex,
and a worse
come on.
father. But I love you very, very much. I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, just speak all the subtext.
So,
And here I am.
I'm gonna stay here in the Rocinante.
Canterbury, why would
I
you
wanna
do
be
that?
Holden.
How
I wanna
the
be
hell
Holden.
should I know? Then think about it.
Oh,
I'll be me.
The beacon we found that you found.
Okay.
What's wrong with you?
hey,
What if it was planted?
You idiot!
You don't have
stop
these lines
calling me
memorized still?
Hoss. No.
You
No,
go.
come on. Look at my hair; it's all slick. I know what I'm talking about.
Sleeper agents. You ever
Let's start that over so you guys can hear those. Yeah? They're gonna start it over so we get the full Alex Kamal. There it is.
firing up the barbecue?
That was too loud.
I've been an awful husband. Been a worse father. I know. I'm just trying to do some good out here. And we have. I have. But that doesn't mean that for 1 second I did not love you. Both of you. Very, very much. You honestly think that Mars destroyed the Canterbury? Why would they do that? How the hell should I know? Then think about it. That beacon we found, that you found so easy, what if it was planted? What if it was meant to be found? Planted? By whom? Who stands to gain? Sleeper agents. You ever heard of them?
Well, screw you!
Guys. Human shields. You ever heard of those? Here we go again. Here it comes. We're just gonna stay here. I want to wake up. I'm gonna prep this ship for desktop.
Free and clear.
Ubiquitous and mendacious and polyglottal, like a couple of donkey balls.
It ain't an Alex moment until we talk about donkey balls. That's pretty much it.
That last frame is probably the most authentic Cas and Dominique moment where I go and a couple of donkey balls. And she's like, "What the?" And I'm like, "Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing."
No.
That is a little bit like you guys
That's how
all.
it is with us. But,
Yeah, there was a bit of us
Is it
in
too
there.
loud, guys? Was that volume too loud for you? It's perfect. Okay. good.
Perfect. We
Figured
got
it
there
out.
in the end.
We're working on it. We're working on that balance there. So, obviously, as we talked a little bit about previously, what's really, really beautiful, one of the many things that's really beautiful about the diversity in this show is that it's not laid, the storylines have nothing to do with your specific ethnicities. But what we have talked about in the past, that in this particular future that they've created on the Expanse, we may not have racism, but we do have planetism. And so, would you guys like to talk a little bit about how that came about, or how you've incorporated that into your portrayals, and how you feel about how that's portrayed on the show?
I mean, I love. I mean, that's one of the things I love about science fiction. Is science fiction is a genre that the whole point of it is to create a universe and a world that is just slightly detached from our current modern reality, but with enough references and enough analogies that we can see ourselves as a human species without getting defensive. I mean, Star Trek actually did a great job of this back in the day. Gene Roddenberry created all sorts of imagery through all the different races and everything so that we could see racism and we could see all this nonsense that humanity does without getting our back up. And that's how good art can provide teaching and vision, because our job is to elevate humanity in some way, however we tell stories. And if you can get people who are watching not to be defensive, you can show them things about themselves and have them react. So we don't live on different planets right now, so nobody can actually say, oh, they're talking about me, screw them. But we do have the same kind of animosity between the Martians and the Belters and the Earthers that exists on our planet now, but we can detach ourselves, and that's a good way to teach.
And I think it goes deeper than even animosity, because I don't think it's just about, oh, these people don't like these people, but it actually, I think what this show does really well is that it examines the politics and the economics behind that. And so for me, I'm Ojibwe, and that is a nation of people who are indigenous to sort of the Toronto region, which is where I'm from. And so looking at the Belters and their fight for sovereignty and their access to natural resources that we require to survive, such as air and water, clean air and clean water, those are issues that my people are facing here and now today. There is an epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women, you know? So there's these things that are very present that I am actually fighting for and facing as a human right now. But this show gives us a chance to sort of examine that from a bit of a distance. And also, of course, a chance for us to talk about it when we do get to connect like this.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yes, let's do that. That was such a good example right there. Let's do a little Kamina drummer video. How about that? All right, can you guys pull up the Kamina drummer video?
Oye, Beltalada, listen up. This is your captain, and this is your ship. My people are dying, and I'm supposed to lay here and do nothing. This is your moment. You may think that you're scared, but you're not. That isn't fear. That's your sharpness. That's your power. We are Belters. Nothing in the void is foreign to us. The place we go is the place we belong. This is no different. No one has more right to this. Not more prepared. Inyalada go through the ring, call it their own. But a Belter opened it. We are the belt. We are strong. We are sharp. And we don't feel fear. This moment belongs to us. For Beltalada! Beltalada! Beltalada!
Are the rest of you ready to take on the world now? Because I am!
Oh my God, that makes me so emotional.
Right? It's so good. It's so good. Oh.
It's so annoying, guys, because in that scene, like, I was like, this is one of the best moments of the season. And I had to stand there like this. And I was like, fuck's sake! Sorry, just seeing you all do that was just a bit emotional for me. It's a lot.
I have to ask, specifically because of hearing Kamina's voice and her tone of speech and her ability to speak Belter versus your
What do you
demeanor.
mean? That it's acting, you guys. She doesn't actually sound like that.
So I was wondering, language is such a huge part of diversity. Language and just basically the way we speak, the way we communicate among our people. Was there a lot of talk on set about the Belter language and about everybody's different dialects and because so much of it is such a melding of so many different cultures that we know right now. Was there a lot of talk about that?
There was some. I came into the audition with the accent.
Yeah.
Because I had watched season 1 and I was a huge fan of it, and I was like, well, if I'm gonna audition for a fucking belter, like, let's do it right, you know? So I copied Jared Harris. So I was lucky, it was already established, really. But I mean, definitely the creators of the show speak a lot about how the belt is enormous, and so they want, you know, each of our belter accents can be distinct because we're representing such a huge, like, I mean, even in the United States, you go to different places and we've got different accents, and that's a relatively tiny patch of land. So to have all of those different accents have their own twang, as it were.
Yeah, we all kind of got left to it, I think, because we were all doing it different anyway, so they were like, well, this is fab.
Right.
I wanted mine to sound a bit like Jared's because I think Drummer is from the same place that he's from. So I wanted it to be close to that, but
Anderson Dawes is Jared
sorry.
Harris.
I'm so sorry. Dawes.
Yeah. Dawes, scary Dawes. So, a question for you. I was going to call you Naomi because that's how in
You
character
can
I
if you
see
want.
it. No, I'm not going to do it.
She's here somewhere.
So Dominique, I have a question, and I hope I verbalize this correctly. But I think there's a tremendous parallel towards people of mixed race and what Naomi specifically has been going through her entire life, between being split between two peoples and where her loyalty lies. And we talked a little bit about this over dinner a few months back. Do you want to speak a little bit about how that has affected you in your portrayal?
Yeah, what's been interesting for me as a mixed race person, being half black and half white, is that I haven't necessarily always had an issue with my identity, but I feel like socially everyone else has always had an issue with me. There's always projection onto who I should be, which side I should pick. And so to play that out between belters and the people I love, you know, sometimes for me it's that thing of like being part of the black community and then having a white woman that brought me up to be a mixed race, often called black woman, is always really conflicting. I hate having to choose. I think it's, I understand it logically, but emotionally as a human being, I just want to be who I am and be that in all my glory and be respected from everyone. And so, but naturally being human, I because of what happens in the world, because of the way the world is, I feel more drawn to one side, normally my black side, if we want to call them sides. So it was very raw for me actually to explore that again through the guise of the show. It's tribalism. It's are you a belter? Who are you? Are you, if you're with the inners, then you're more of them. And it's like the same thing with being black and white. And so, yeah, I've never got to explore that. I've never really been hired as a mixed race person. It's always an African American. I'm always playing a lighter version of my sisters rather than playing a mixed race woman. So to get to explore that on this show has been, it's not really something I talk about because I feel like it's quite hard for the black community to address it because of what's happened to us. So we don't always talk about it in that way, but it's nice to have explored it in a different way and unpack some of what it means to me or how it feels to me through Naomi, through a different lens. Yeah.
One beautiful thing about her, yes, please.
That's why I get so emotional when I watch scenes like that, because it's like...
Well, there's a scene that you have that makes me ridiculously emotional that we're about to watch, and it is it's a perfect parallel between you as a human being and also your character and her desire to connect with all humanity and pretty much save all the people she possibly can. So can we pull up Dominique Tipper?
Take everything apart. Be fast and be careful. We're inside a balloon with a pin here. If it has a battery, a power pack, any charge capability, it goes into a part. I'm sorry, does anyone need a back rub first? I had a child with him. baby boy. Philip. The man I loved took him away because I refused to do what he wanted. I was desperate, wrecked. And then finally, I shut it all off. And I signed up to the Canterbury to disappear.
Calm these people down and line them up. Children first. Best you can. Do it, and I'll trade places with you.
Why would you do that?
I was on the last ship of the Heroes. I didn't do enough.
The brother on Heroes.
We all did.
The ship is locked from the inside. Get her to open the door!
If they open that door right now, all of us are dead!
Guns, brow guns, nuclear bombs. No weapon ever brings peace.
I'm always here like, I'm not wearing waterproof mascara. I can't do that. Don't make me do that.
Yeah, I'm actually glad we didn't see the other half of that scene.
Yeah. No, it's the other half of that scene is painful. Now we've talked a lot about the belt in here. Let's talk about these Martians. Let's talk about these. Let's talk about these fellas. Let's talk about you two.
Let's talk about Mars.
Let's talk about Mars. Let's skip Venus, but let's talk about Mars. Now, when you because you came on a little bit later than the rest of the gang. Well, obviously not than he, but tell us how when you stepped into this role, was there a particular thing that connected you more or less with Bobby and her particular brand of aggression?
You know me now, girl.
I do.
Not really, but you know, fake it till you make it, right? But I think people tend to think or want to think that I am Bobby. And I felt the pressure too when I started. I was like, oh, I think everyone thinks I'm this fucking amazing badass chick, which I am, but not in the way that she is. So it was like quite difficult for me to like feel comfortable in that space, because I'm just a silly Billy fun time, and I'm an actor, you know. I think people want you to be a Marine, and it's like, guys, I'm an artist. I fucking paint and dance. Like I'm not that person. But I did connect to her. Once I started playing her more and reading about her, I did connect with her strength. I just always attached it to this physicality and this stoicness about her, and but strength is vulnerability too, and and I think that's how I was able to really have a strong foundation with it, as opposed to feeling like I had to reach that sort of aggressiveness. I was like, no, she's strong, and I don't have to be her in order to show that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
And it's great.
But I still wouldn't fuck with me, is what I'm trying to say.
It's one of the most wonderful things I think to watch about your character too, is because she does come from, and this is something that I think parallels our world very much, speaking of diversity, is that she comes from a very othered group of people, right? The Martians are very othered by the Earthers and by the Belters. There's definitely a sense of that they are these folks over here. And one of the most touching moments I feel like in your storyline is when you are going to the water and when you're trying to find the horizon, to find your balance on Earth, and that sense of realizing how much she actually can connect with the Earthers and everything.
And I think it was a chance for people to see like that wasn't her life, and she says to Avasarala, you know, you guys take this for granted. I've not seen anything like this. All I know is, you know, one purpose, and it helped her grow, I think, and understand the universe more. And I just really like watching that scene. I was quite proud of it, and I think it was a turning point for her journey to what we see now.
I actually love that, you know, not actually being Naomi, being Dominique and Eartha. I love that Martian perspective of Earth, that thing of like, you know, the quote, you had a garden and you paved over it, which for me is so like, that's what we're doing to Earth, to Mother Earth. And I love that we have that aspect of it through the Martians, from this militaristic kind of planet, militaristic kind of harsh culture that has this really kind of softness about Earth and air and green and cultivating that. It's such a juxtaposition. It's just my little...
Should we watch a little bit of Bobby Draper?
Yeah!
Yes! Can you guys
Speaking of softness.
yeah, exactly.
What killed my team? Not today! I am not a fragile flower.
What the fuck are you looking at?
I don't know how you can stand to wear that thing.
It's the skin of my enemy.
I guess that makes this the skin of my ex. Naomi gave us these. They'll let us read news feeds, talk to the crew, but no communications beyond the ship.
Didn't they train you to bend people to your will?
I can't even make you do what I want, and you're half my size.
This is Gunnery Sergeant Roberta Draper, Martian Marine Corps. I am ordering you to cease your broadcast, put down your weapons, and come out with your hands raised.
Bobby?
Alex?
Jesus.
What the fuck are you doing down here? Put down your weapons.
That ain't gonna happen.
Alex, listen to me. You need to surrender now. If you make us come in there, somebody's gonna get hurt.
It's a hybrid.
Fall back to the Rossi.
No, the kids are down that way. Go get them.
You can't.
I'll lead it away. Go!
Come on, what are you waiting for?
She just went to me, there's so much fighting and stuff in this, and,
So
and
soft.
head kicking, and I went, babe, someone's got to be the muscle.
Yeah. So
I got to say something. Because we're talking about diversity, and I was just noticing this watching all of these clips, right? Diversity in our show, it encompasses a lot about the racial equality and all that. But the diversity in our show, again, watching these clips, look at these powerful women. Like, how often do you see, we just watched 12 minutes worth of footage or 9-10 minutes worth of footage. Not a single scene had to do with anyone being weak or vulnerable or in any kind of like a traditional way or revolving around saving a relationship. There was no men involved, and even when Naomi was talking to Holden, it was about her life, her issues, her problem, her son. Even though that relationship was there, it had nothing to do with the essence of the scene. That's what I love about this show, is up to now, we've had like 8 powerful, kick-ass women, and in season 4 you get 2 more, and the series just keeps going. Like that.
Spoiler.
That's so I say.
Thank you, Kat. This is why we keep him around, guys. Oh,
it's a message. It's going to be nice when we don't have to keep making such an issue of this, but right now we do. So men out there, just that's what it's all about.
And in that same breath, I feel like, you know, to kind of combat toxic masculinity, you also have a range of men who aren't afraid to show their emotions. Some of them are sociopaths, like Amos, but then you also have highly emotional, kind of the heart of the group, the cook of the group, the family person of the group is Alex Kamal. Like, that is, you know, the muscle of the show is Bobby Draper. The genders are always being turned on their head, and again, for me, I don't know about you guys, that's true to life. So again, the show does such a great job of keeping all these people integral to the storylines, having their own agency, and also not sticking to any stereotypes. And
Let's not forget our queen, who's not here.
Queen!
Speaking of powerful women, she's basically president of the earth. Like, it's an amazing, amazing palette of personalities and power in the female spectrum.
I think worth mentioning in that same breath, actually, is the character of Prax, played by Terry Chen, who's the legend. But I mean, how rare and unique that is to see that parent relationship, that strong parent relationship, is being portrayed by a man.
Single dad.
That's so rare. That's so rare. And we love Terry.
We do. And also, just to add to that, is the range of parent-child relationships in the show. You know, for my character, it's rare that you see a woman who, I'm sorry, this is going to be a spoiler for some of you who haven't watched it, but a woman who's estranged from her child and made the choice to leave for her well-being and for the child's. So even getting to explore that as essentially a single mother and making a really difficult choice, which women have to when they're in abusive relationships, and showing that side of it, you get to see her on the other side of it, which you don't see in many shows. And that's why I shouted at you yesterday for saying, you know, you're the most normal. Like, women go through this all the time. So getting to put that on screen as well, and it's dealt with so delicately by the writers, is quite profound also.
I think it's about time we opened up some questions to you guys, yes?
Yeah.
We've got a microphone
Right
over here, stage left, over here on your right. Please
Speak
come on
loud
up and
and
ask.
clear.
I'd totally like to follow up on what you were just talking about. So, Cash, you made two great points. One was future science fiction as a reflection on our current situation. And then you talk about the strong women and their portrayals. So I'm working off of what you said, but you don't get the answer, because I'm going to the strong women. Okay. Because the books and the screenplay are so well written for your roles, do you find that you're able to play your roles straight up as they're written, or do you try to bring anything into your portrayals that's specific to being a female character? The reason I ask is that in a couple of weeks I'm moderating a panel at AwesomeCon down in DC on female characters in science fiction. And so there's a little bit of a question about what makes a good female character. Is it someone that does the same thing that everybody else does and you don't even think about their gender? Or is it something that, like you just pointed out, the roles are reversed and you have to consciously think about what you're seeing on the screens? I'd kind of like all three of your takes on that.
I personally want to see women that are all encompassing of everything. Funnily enough, what I tend to fight for with Naomi, and I would not change the way she's written, but sometimes I have to encourage them to put a bit more of seeing her be affectionate with Jim. Because I'm like, let's not forget that strong women have sex all the time as well, and like to have sex, and want to hold hands, and maybe want to be loved by a man. So I'm like, she can be all those things and also be in love. Let's not forget she is also in love. So sometimes I find, in an effort to portray women as strong, we sacrifice their vulnerability or sacrifice their affection or the things that make them soft. And that's not true. A strong woman is all those things. So for me, sometimes I have to be like, guys, it is okay if you see us kissing, or, you know, I don't want to sacrifice that part of her. Because people need to, in an effort to put strong women on scene, you need to see them make love too. You don't just be a strong woman and then that's all you are. You just go around like pushing people around or getting them in headlocks. No, we also have that side of our lives that I want to be put on screen. If we've had all these years and years of seeing women on Game of Thrones being raped or whatever it is, and I love Game of Thrones, I'm not digging them out, but we know that is a thing, we also need to make sure people get used to seeing strong women have sex and be affectionate and be loved also. And especially black women, like, we don't see that on screen enough. It's getting better. and Native women and Polynesian women. We need to be loved too. So that's a big thing I always make sure I'm flagging up. But I also would not change what they've done on the page for anything. So it's a balance.
I am constantly impressed, and I think I had a chat with you about this, about when I read Bobby's lines or her story, you don't know what gender she is. It's never ever brought up. If you didn't know, you would probably think that she's a man, and I like that. Yeah, I like that part of her. And a thing that I will change slightly. The writing is usually like bang on for me. I really like it. But I also think that she has an incredibly sarcastic sense of humor, and I like bringing that side of her in it so that she's not always so serious. And, you know, when Avasarala's trying her mag boots, in the background I was like, Bobby would find this hilarious. And so I laughed in the back, and they kept that take. And I think now they've also written her to be quite funny, and I like that, and I think it gives her more layers and it makes her a little more relatable. But overall, you would never know what gender she is until like I walk into the room, obviously. But I quite like that because, you know, who cares? It doesn't really matter.
But luckily, we have a team that allow us to have input, which isn't always the case. So, you know, it's credit to them as well. They write these brilliant women, but also if we're a bit like, I feel like as a woman, this would happen.
It's very collaborative.
Very collaborative atmosphere. We are so blessed with the people we have writing and exec producing our show.
I think for drummer, I think that because she has this huge, like the weight of the belt is on her shoulders, and she has this huge responsibility. So that is what it's about for her. And her gender is almost irrelevant. It's just who she is. But I think that, I mean, I never ever think of it like, okay, how am I approaching this as a woman? I do think that it's important that she occupies the space of being the captain, but I feel fully competent to be able to represent that as myself. Which was interesting. It was interesting because we had David Strathairn come in and play my second in command. And that was a little something that I would have to push against sometimes with certain directors, just the idea that because he is so famous and so talented and so iconic and legendary, I love him so much, that like he would sometimes be directed to be in the power position. And I would have to be like, hang on. This is my ship, and I'm the captain of it, and he's my second in command. And David was so open to that, and we would approach that together.
But directors were so used to seeing the women be
flanking him. And so you see some of that, and we had to be like, hang on. We're not decoration. We're not fucking decoration here. I'm the captain, and it's my ship. So that was something that I would have to keep in mind. But as far as like the writing and the story, I just get to go on that ride and bring my best self to it, which is a privilege, and we're so lucky to be on this show.
So lucky.
Do we have any other questions? Bring it on up. Come on.
Hey.
Screaming Firehawk.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Representing. So kind of on the opposite end of that, you talked about, you know, the strengths that you get to present as a female character in this show. Are there any situations where you feel like you've had to, like you with David, you know, kind of step up and represent as a woman on this show, or is that something that you think has been handled well already? Are there any difficulties that you faced as a female actress?
There's always things to face as a female actress, even on a lovely, collaborative, empowering show like ours, because like Cara said, we get a different director per block, and a block is 2 episodes, and sometimes they may not know enough about the story to understand our point of view, and that's why we have to give them friendly reminders. You know, she's the fucking captain, bro. Hello. And all that sort of stuff.
And that's the thing, I think this show requires everyone that comes to work on it to question their conditioning, start unpacking. If you see a woman in a role that is normally for a man, it takes a minute to undo and unpack and readjust maybe what you would have done on a different show. So there is a lot of addressing of that, like we said. For me as an actress, I said this yesterday on the panel, but I have found that the most beneficial thing, first of all, I say, being on this show taught me how to conduct myself as a woman on set, and I had to step up very quickly to being the only woman in the room. These gents are awesome, but again, it still comes with some issues. We're all conditioned in a certain way, and we have to change that. We have to challenge that, and that did not come with its without its hardships initially. Sorry, I couldn't get that out. But then, as it's gone further into the process, I have realized important things that I need to make sure happen on the set as one of the leads, as one of the women that's been there the longest. And one of the things is cultivating sisterhood. And a lot of people don't do that. We are in a very competitive industry. It's very easy when there's 4 or 5 other women of color on the show to slip into that thing of thinking that there's only room for one of us, and that storyline's good, and maybe that should be me saying that. And it's all making sure that I create an environment and we have an environment where that's not the case and where that doesn't happen, and we all support each other. So for me, I make a big effort to make sure that everyone that comes on the show is comfortable, and that things are in place to make sure everyone feels safe, but especially that between us as women, we support each other and cultivate each other's art and promote it and support it and all of those good things. So that's for me what I've learned.
I have to say, as a man, no, she deserves applause for that. That's just on that subject, as a man, and I think this is for all the men listening here, it's really important that the endeavor and the challenge and the journey that Dominique is talking about in terms of trying to change things, unpack things, revision things, in some ways it falls more on us to hear what she's saying and do. And I have the privilege, and I feel privileged to be part of this cast, to be educated by these incredible women on how to do that, because ultimately what they're fighting for, there is some stuff within the women themselves that they have to try to re-envisage, but ultimately it's the male perspective that is creating so much effort on they have to spend 50% of their energy just to be seen and to be heard, rather than just working like we would. And just an example on this show, which is an amazing show to work on, I would be working on a show with a particular director, and we would be working in different scenes, different days. We wouldn't be working together, and then we'd come together on the weekend and say, hey, how did it go working with so-and-so? And me and Wes would be, oh, it was awesome. He's so cool. It's great, blah, blah. And then Dominique would be like, oh, really? And I had a little, and we were like in disbelief because we had such an amazing, empowering experience. And then 4 days later, we would work together with that director, and all of a sudden I'm watching a completely different experience in terms of how she's being treated, how she's being spoken to, how she's being blocked in the scene. And at one point, she's in some, and this is what I'm saying, we have to be aware as men. It was kind of my responsibility at some point to step in and say, hey, this is actually, because if she's constantly speaking for herself and standing up and being that voice, then she becomes that person that's constantly, whereas as a man coming in and saying, well, no, actually this isn't appropriate, she would be doing something like she's more in charge of this moment. And it kind of is jarring for these directors to hear it coming from the male saying, well, no, actually she should be out front in this. And it's kind of fun to be part of that. And that's a learning experience. And that's something I'm trying to maybe convey to the men listening to this, is that's our responsibility. We really do have to take that on.
It is fun dismantling the patriarchy.
Time for another one?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Time for one more?
One more.
One more, because she wants to ask a question.
Oh, two. We'll do two. We'll do a speed round. We'll do two more. Come on.
No.
We got
great.
two.
Oh, two more. Okay.
We'll do it.
My name's Tom, lifelong sci-fi guy since My dad scared me at 7 years old with Darth Vader and Star Wars, right? So you guys do such a fantastic job. I just wanted to thank you for making sci-fi a little more real and a little more human. Over the years, it's been either a little watery or a little bit, too fictional. It's real with you guys, right? And I saw those strong woman characters, like when I was first watching it, and I was like, this is a different kind of show, right? And I even commented to a friend of mine, I was like, this is awesome that these women come on and they just kick ass, right? It's fantastic, right? Getting to my question, you guys, the Expanse is the only show my wife actually, a sci-fi show, wants to watch, right? Because most of it's like, do you have to watch that? So you guys, you're right, so she's on board. How's the environment now in the Amazon world versus before with sci-fi? Like, has anything changed culturally that's affecting the show, in your opinion?
Our crew is mostly the same as when we were shooting the previous seasons. They love working on the show, and it's a really, really great group of people that we've got working in Toronto. So for the most part, we have the same crew. So our day-to-day is very similar.
Yeah, not much has changed. Some stuff's changed recently, but it's actually nothing to do with the changeover. It was more stuff that we had put in motion that needed to be changed. That's starting to change. So.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
And we hope that we'll get some good marketing and more people will watch our show.
It seems like it's going that way.
Yeah, because it was a nail biter there. We thought you guys were going away.
The one thing I've noticed is that the show, because we're off a cable network and we're on streaming now, it's a little bit grittier, it's a little bit sexier, it's a little bit dark. It's a little more like the novels in terms of there's no commercials, but there's no restriction in terms of the censoring governing bodies of. It's much more of how it was written. And there's no restriction on time, so we basically get to do the story that we want to do, whether it's 47 minutes or 57 minutes, whatever it takes to tell the story, we're free to do it. And there's no commercials, so all of that. And the one thing the Amazon people said was, when you were on Sci-Fi Network, everyone's lauding this as an incredible science fiction show. And they say, we want to make this an incredible show.
It is. It is an incredible show.
That's what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, it is an incredible show, so thank you.
Hopefully that's coming.
Bring it on home.
Hey. So this is more of a for fun question. I'm sorry. Short. More of a fun type question. Obviously the belter thing is very popular with the fans and cosplay especially. I like to think about, well, if I lived in that universe, where would I probably be from? Knowing what you know about Mars and Earth and the belt, your real life personality, where does each of you think you would belong in the Expanse?
I think I'd still be a belter. I mean, if I wasn't a belter, I'd be like Julie Mao, where I'd be like that girl from Earth with all the privilege who wants to like fight for the belt. I think either way, I'd be one of those, for sure.
So Bobby is from Mars, and we all know and love this. But Frankie would be in the belt.
Yeah.
This surprises me.
No, it
does.
Doesn't.
It though? Does it, Cas? Does
Come
it
on.
really? Well, you know me now.
That's true. That's true. She is. Right. Personally, I'm a big fan. I believe in and sympathize with the Belter spirituality, the Belter philosophy. But personally, I am a huge Martian.
Just say it.
I believe. Just say it.
But let me explain.
That doesn't surprise me, actually, because I know you.
For me, what the Martians represent, it's not a supremacy or an arrogance or anything, because that is part of who they are. What I love and identify with the Martians is they are an entire people, millions and millions and millions. I think there's like 15 to 25 million people on Mars that all have a common goal. They all are unified. They all are, and that unity has bred arrogance. It has bred and attitude. It has bred, because we're human beings, we have to create an us and a them, and so they made the Martian, the Earthers them. That's not the part that I identify with, but the common goal, the unity, the focus, the integrity to try and strive to be better and to accomplish something massively impossible that is for the betterment of humanity. That's the part that I identify
All right.
as the Martians.
Over-explaining your privilege.
Thank you very much. There we go. Martian
And
privilege.
how about you, Cara?
I feel like I would be a belter, obs. But I feel like I would be, have a little studio and be an artist on, probably Eros, if I'm honest. I'd be done for. I wouldn't survive in this universe very long. Cara G is way too soft.
Well, thank you, you guys. We have to get these guys back to their table, but let's give them one more giant round of applause.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end. You can subscribe here to subscribe to the channel. There's more videos off to the left. And Mr. J says, don't forget to ring that bell button for more notifications.